We are actually at Sloan and Williams in downtown Grapevine. They have the best wines and the best ciders. So you need to come down to Sloan and Williams in Grapevine, Texas, and enjoy some of their beverages.
He's got the white label. I got the black label.
Yeah.
Because.
White's cool.
And so's black.
Well, I like black too, but I got white today, so I'm good.
The black's for the big boys.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Yeah, I got to go on a diet before I can drink the white label again.
So, buddy, I've got tons of questions for you. I'm gonna try to cut it down to like 30. Before you began creating guitars, you were a musician, right?
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your music career.
I was like a lot of guys in the 80s, and I'm from the early 80s when I started playing guitar, and I wanted to be a metal or hard rock metal guitar player, but basically heavily influenced by Black Sabbath and Judas Priest and things like that.
Led Zeppelin.
To be fair to Led Zepp, I never did my time. I never learned the Jimmy Page licks. I think in the 70s I wanted to be a Led Zeppelin guy, but in the 80s I think I was so, and I still am, so enthralled with Black Sabbath and Tony Iommi's playing. I consider him to be the true godfather of heavy metal. And I think really, because of his heavy rhythm and everything, I was very, very heavily influenced by Black Sabbath, honestly.
Right.
I think they're the original heavy metal band. So.
Oh, yeah.
But yes, I absolutely love Led Zeppelin, but I'm definitely a Black Sabbath kind of guy.
Right. So, and you were more influenced by Black Sabbath, I guess.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. So, you were influenced by Black Sabbath, and so when did you actually pick up a guitar?
I was like 5 when I first picked up a guitar, and that was like in the previous century, in the 1900s.
Yeah.
These days, the guitar players are actually born this century.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, I would have been like 5 years old, and
Wow.
believe it or not, that was more than 50 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe.
Yeah, and I think back then, my God, what would it have been then? It was just a cool thing.
Yeah.
It would have had to have been Elvis.
Yeah.
I mean, Elvis is responsible for every bad thing that happened in music.
Exactly.
And that's a good thing.
Elvis is the culprit. Yeah. What a talent he was.
Oh.
So you picked up a guitar and you just fell in love with it, and you began to play, and then you wound up in some bands.
Yeah. I played locally, and ironically, there was a group of guys back in that time that kind of all went different directions and all ended up pretty successful, but I played I had 2 or 3 band names, and then I finally started calling the bands Buddy Blaze. I don't know if it's because of my enormous ego, or if it was...
Surely not.
Oh, I'm modest, But anyway, it could have been because, I provided the entire PA, I provided the place to rehearse, and I booked the gigs. So I figured after a while, since I'm doing everything, why don't we just call the band me?
Right.
But people wouldn't go to see me, so I called it Buddy Blaze.
Oh, that's awesome.
No, I play with some really great guys, to be fair, wonderful guys. And I still get to run into some of them every now and again. So yeah.
So what point did you decide that you wanted to be a machinist?
Oh, that was called being married and having a kid and needing a real job.
Being responsible.
Yeah. I'm like most people who play guitar. We have to have jobs if we want to eat and have a roof over our heads.
Right.
And so actually, I began that. Joyce and I. This is my boss, Joyce. Boss Joyce.
Joyce's,
Yeah.
Joyce's third chair.
But anyway, we were high school sweethearts, and she hated me in junior high, but she came around in high school. And she lost a bet, and she's been stuck with me ever since. But anyway, we went to high school in Iowa, and and so I'm married. I have a young son. I'm still a teenager, and I meant then I was.
Right.
So,
Right.
anyway, so I
Is
got.
that cider getting to you?
No, I wish it was. We need more cider. But anyway, I started. I got a chance to learn the machining trade. It paid pretty good, and then the economy really started turning south in Iowa at that time, which this is the late '70s. And Joyce and I made the call to move to Texas, and it was the rebirth of guitar to me. There was always a guitar around. I was a horrible player, but I was never around really great players till I came to Dallas, Fort Worth area, and this place is just chock full of amazing guitar players.
Oh yeah.
And,
Gosh. Yeah.
I think the talent pool here is second to none.
It's huge. Yeah.
And so anyway, I became a machinist over here and reinvigorated my love for guitar and I really had to step the game up, and I got serious, and then life changed.
So what caused the transition from being a machinist to being a guitar maker?
The one thing I found out, and as a machinist, I literally broke. It was my right index finger, broke it right before the first knuckle. Literally snapped that bone, and the finger's just hanging there like that, and leader and all that kind of stuff, and got it sewed back on. And I remember the doc telling me that, if everything turns out all right, we'll know in 4 or 5 days that you'll get to keep it. And if it doesn't, we'll need to do what we need to do. And I said, you ain't getting a second crack at this finger. When I'm leaving here, I'm leaving with my finger, and I ain't coming back. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I had a couple of broken bones, numerous stitches, and honestly, I started realizing that in the machinist trade, it's a great trade, and it pays well, and it's highly skilled. I learned a lot doing it, and I made really good money. Honorable, all of the above. But every guy that was in machining more than 20 years was missing a finger somewhere, at least.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? And I'd had metal wrap around my hand before, and I've come close I came close to losing my arm one day. Because the machine, I was running a CNC machine, which computer controlled, and it decided it was going to start, and it was putting a live center, which is this thing about, 600 PSI, going to just take me at the elbow and pulling some chips out of the center or something. And about that time, I just said, you know what, I'm getting sick of this. This guitar stuff, might be the thing for me. But
Right.
So what happened was, what it got me initially into making guitars was, as a player, I bought really nice guitars often, and I would, usually have to do work on them. It would take me, I'd buy a brand new guitar and I'd spend a month whipping it into shape, and I got quicker and better, but so I had this policy: if I ever sell a guitar, I got to replace it with one or more guitars. So never have less guitars tomorrow than you have today, which is, I think it's a pretty good policy, especially if they're Buddy Blaze guitars.
Yeah.
But anyway, so
The wives always love that. They think that's pretty cool.
well, I got an extra bedroom out of the deal. Every house had to have an extra bedroom for my guitars.
Yeah.
But well, they're too expensive. We can't keep them in the garage.
Right.
You know that.
Right.
But so anyway, one day, through my frustration, somebody buys one of my guitars, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna just make one. Somebody talked me into selling one, and there's guitars you love, and there's guitars you're willing to let go, and somebody bought one I was willing to let go. So it meant time for a new guitar, and I said, you know what, this time, because of all my frustrations buying guitars, I said, I'm just going to put one together and see what happens. And I was a skilled woodworker, a skilled machinist, and I knew a lot about guitars at that point, so I made one, and I'm still trying to get that one back. I made it. 2 or 3 guys within a week tried to buy it from me, of me finishing it. So the best guitar player and the nicest guy of the bunch got it, and I said, you can just pay me whenever. Well, he's no longer with us, and I can't find the guitar.
No.
So the first guitar I ever made is out there.
Somewhere.
Maybe we could throw a picture up and somebody might find it for us.
Absolutely.
But lost a good friend and a great guitar. And I would love to have that one back, number one.
Yeah.
That was in 84 or 85.
Wow.
Something like that.
I just want to let you guys know that Sloan and Williams is so popular that people try to get in the front door like hours early. And it's a regular occurrence here at Sloan and Williams. So if you hear all that knocking, it's all these people down here in downtown Grapevine trying to get in. Just want to let y'all know that. So if you want to come to Sloan and Williams, always try to get here a little bit early. Maybe not an hour early, but a little bit early. And you too can have some these great ciders.
I'm thinking about a peach Bellini.
Peach
I see
Bellini.
these signs saying peach Bellini, and it's piqued my interest because I love peach. I love peach.
Do you
man.
really?
Oh, but pineapple, peach.
Peach, mango.
It must
like
be.
'em all.
It's all the pea fruits.
Well, I like mango. It's an M.
Is that pomegranate? Is that a fruit?
Ooh, no, I don't think pomegranate would be good.
What about,
Really? You like pomegranate?
Is periwinkle a flute?
Oh.
Fruit?
Oh.
Anyway, sorry. I digress.
So, let's see, where were we? We were talking about you going from a machinist to a guitar maker, yeah.
Yeah, an opportunity came up. Actually, it was at Spear Music in Dallas, and their guy had just went to preacher school. So I guess me being the heathen that I was invited to take his place, because I could relate more to the young and budding metal players of the day.
Oh,
I guess,
yeah.
whatever. I don't.
Right.
No, I mean I often, honestly, I would take guitars in to their repairman, and then I would take them back a week later after I did it right and show them what I did. And I'm not kidding. That really happened, and I didn't mind because I just love the community of. To me, guitar. My world with guitar is a community. We are a brotherhood,
Right.
And I mean, to me, the clever word for it is networking, but the truth is,
Right.
I believe I'm part of a guitar community.
It's a club, that's for sure.
It's a club. It's a good
yeah.
club.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So you started making guitars, and I guess you were pretty successful at it. So
It was, if you had a plan to make it in the guitar business, it would never work. It's like this was back in the 1900s, so we didn't have internet, and we didn't have all of these. There was no social media since there was no internet.
Right.
All these things were different back then, and I had shockingly good luck. To be honest, I think I made pretty good guitars because I sold a lot of guitars right out of the box. I mean, when I look back at the numbers that I was doing back in those days, I don't know how I did it, but I just did it. People liked what I was doing.
Wow.
And but then early on, we had a couple of customers that played in a local country cover band, and they went to Nashville for Fanfare. And it was called Fanfare before it was called the CMA Music Festival or whatever they call it now.
Right.
But anyway, so they went there, and both of these guys landed the Lee Greenwood gig. He's the bass player and guitar player. It's Steve Mandel, and he's the guitar player, and Dave Watson was the bass player. And both of those guys actually they went there with Blaze bass and a Blaze guitar, got the gig, so immediately they ordered more. And I'm not kidding, from the day that I sold my first guitar till they were on the Today Show, playing in the Persian Gulf doing God Bless the USA with Lee Greenwood. That was less than 6 months, and the only advertising I did was 3,000 business cards. I still have 2,950 of them.
Yeah.
I ran across them the other day. I'm like, oh my God, what are these? Oh, they're my business cards that never got handed out. But
that's cool.
And then shortly after that, at that point I made the guitars at the garage in my house. I got so busy making guitars that it killed playing for me. I just didn't have time to play, and my hands hurt like hell at the end of the day. I'm not kidding. It really takes a lot out of your hands to make guitars.
Yeah.
And I love them. I love playing them. But anyway, a short time after these guys are playing my guitars all over Nashville, and I'm getting kind of crazy over, people in Nashville are wanting my guitars now. I run into this guy, Vivian Campbell. And he had just been...
See, Vivian Campbell.
And he had just been fired from, Ronnie Dio had the foresight to fire him.
Yeah.
Wow, that really worked good for Ronnie, didn't it?
Sure did, didn't it?
Anyway, so Vivian, being Irish and having the luck of the Irish, gets this phone call from this David Coverdale character who was doing this, video for his band Whitesnake. And so anyway, Vivian also had a side band called Trinity at the time. So anyway, Vivian comes to Spear Music to do an in-store for Labella Strings, and I have four or five of my guitars at the store that day. And he grabbed 2 or 3 of them, and then we hung out over the next couple of days at the Dallas Guitar Show, and this would have been in '87. And we just hit it off. I mean, we went everywhere together, had dinner and breakfast and drinks and whatever, and Joyce and me and Vivian. And we decided that I should make him a guitar. And as fate would have it, obviously this was a very high priority for me. I'm a huge Vivian Campbell fan. Of course, we talked about Black Sabbath, and there's a little Dio connection there, and
right.
I'm a huge Dio fan. And I'm like, I'm getting to make a guitar for Vivian Campbell. I'm the luckiest guy on the planet.
Yeah,
that's how I felt.
That's huge, yeah.
And
absolutely.
Instead of sticking it in a FedEx box, I got on a plane and flew over to L.A. and he went and picked me up at the hotel I was staying at, and the rest is history. And the next thing I know, the guitar is actually in the next Whitesnake video, which ended up being the only #1 single that David Coverdale or Whitesnake ever had in their careers.
Wow.
And that was Here I Go Again. It's the one where that girl's doing cartwheels over the Jaguars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your guitar's in it.
Yeah. It's it's actually here.
Oh, you got it here?
Yeah.
Well, let's show it to the people.
Yeah.
That's awesome that you brought it.
Listen.
That is sweet.
But if you look real close at the back, it actually says Vivian Campbell on it. And
so did you gave that one to him, or he?
I gave it to him.
Okay.
This is one of the most difficult paint jobs. I have to honestly say, if I never do another polka dot paint job, I'll be okay with that.
Wow.
Yeah, this is actually what I brought him, and it involves Seymour Duncan, that they were prototyping a pickup, so this is the full shred.
Wow.
And I actually had a little bit to do with naming the pickup. I didn't design it or anything, but Vivian just said, call the artist guy at Duncan and get me one of them pickups. They'll know, and if you leave big old screws in there and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not how they look today. But yeah, I mean, it's like.
How'd you get it back?
That's a good story. Yeah, absolutely. Just don't drop it. Okay. But
that is awesome. How sweet.
Yeah, fast forward, I ended up getting hired by Kramer. Every guitar company out there wanted, Vivian Campbell playing their guitars. So Kramer was the biggest guitar company in the U.S. at the time, and which means the world. And they wanted Vivian, and so Vivian and I we came separately, but it was kind of like a package deal. Vivian wanted me making his guitars. He loved the guitar.
Right.
One of the coolest things, though, about this guitar was that it debuted at the Texas Jam that year. That
But
was
that
the
was
first show that Vivian played with Whitesnake.
1987.
87. And yeah, that
Awesome.
was when Aerosmith first came back.
Right.
And you know, it was, you know, believe it or not, the headliner was Boston. And I'm sitting there going, you got Aerosmith, you got Whitesnake, and they're opening for Boston.
I know.
But Tesla debuted on that show.
Right.
You know, a few bands like that.
Oh yeah, huge band.
I think Poison was on that show too, if I remember right. And
Yeah.
there was another band, I think Fahrenheit or something like that.
That is so sweet.
But just to see and hear Vivian play that guitar that day, I mean, I'm just this kid working out of my garage in Arlington, Texas, and look what the hell happened.
I know.
It's crazy.
Boy, you just never know, do you?
Yeah, you can't plan that. I mean, there's no way.
No.
There's no way you can just sit there, well, you know, I'm going to make this guitar and it's going to be on MTV and on the cover of 30 magazines, and
Wow.
Vivian's going to talk about me every time he turns around, which is exactly what happened.
Yeah, right.
If you tried to make that happen, you couldn't make that happen.
Right,
you know,
right.
And I owe Vivian forever. So cheers to Vivian Campbell.
Absolutely.
Vivian Campbell. Here's to Def Leppard for keeping them working.
That's right.
Cheers.
That is awesome. So,
But
yeah, whenever. Yeah. Thank you.
so anyway, that's kind of the quick version.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Well,
then my life went crazy after that.
yeah, your life has been
Yeah.
your life, right, Joyce?
Yes.
So, you were a guitar tech for Great White.
I was a guitar tech for Great White. And this is one of those stories where, you know, we're going to go back and forth a little bit, but, you know, after a couple of years at Kramer, in this business, it happens every now and again where you make a deal with somebody and they absolutely don't honor their end, but you do.
Mm-hmm.
That was Kramer and me.
Oh,
So Kramer didn't pay me royalties and, you know, really put me in a bad financial spot. And I go, what do you do when you're broke? Well, you start a band because you got nothing to lose. That's
Yeah.
the best time to be in a band.
you go from broke to broker.
Well, but you know what? Here's the deal. One of the great things about having worked at Kramer was that I became friends with Mark Mendoza, who is the bass player for Twisted Sister.
Oh,
And we ran across this singer. We discovered this singer out of Atlanta, Georgia, named Jesse James Dupree, and he ended up being in Jackal.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so anyway, and then Animal finds this amazing drummer named Brian Smith. We put this band together. We're shopping for a deal. I live in New York City now. I would walk to the labels and go straight to the A&R. Listen to my tape, you know. Look
Yeah.
at the picture. We got long hair. We're skinny.
Right,
You know.
right.
And man, we were perfect. And so anyway, Jesse was the singer in my band, and you know, and things like that. And so Joyce is working for Columbia Pictures.
Oh, okay.
And they decided to move everything from New York to LA. So I'm also playing in this other band doing showcases. And I get offered this gig with a band called 21 Guns as a guitar player. And I'm playing a showcase at CBGB's, and 21 Guns manager came in. Well, 21 Guns is Scott Gorham's he's the main guitar player. We're talking Thin Lizzy.
Yeah.
And then there was this guy, Mikey in Life, from the band Aha. And the songs are fantastic, and I'm getting to hang out with Mr. Thin Lizzy guy. I'm like, you know, I walk off the stage and they offer me this gig, and I go, yeah. So they're in LA recording the record. They don't need me in the studio. They got Scott Gorham, you know.
Right.
So in the meantime, you know, BMG signs ZZ Top, which is
Oh,
the same
wow.
label that had signed 21 Guns.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there, I'm in a signed band. I'm playing with this guy from Thin Lizzy. Man.
Can't get
it's
much
like,
better
man,
than this.
It's like, it was worth being broke in
But
New
it
York.
can.
Yeah. So anyway, Joyce and I moved to LA, and then we go to, they're doing a showcase after, you know, a pre-release showcase for the record. And of course, you know, I'm invited. I go to this showcase, and then I find out that because ZZ Top got all the money for when they got signed to BMG, they pulled support from all the new bands.
Oh.
So there went all the tour support. So they had this grand plan. We're going to have techs. We'll have a bus. We'll be a truck. We'll do a nice tour. No, it's one bus, maybe van. I don't know. But there, Scott's going to be the only guitar player and blah blah blah. And I go, it's all good because now we're living in LA and she's got a great job and she's in the movie business. That's the real money,
Right.
And so anyway,
She's got a real check.
she had a real check. So at that time, Mark Kendall from Great
Boy,
White,
you married right.
yeah, all I had to do was get her to New York so she could get that gig.
I thought
You
you,
know?
yeah, I thought you were smart because you're a machinist, but you're really smart because you married Joyce.
Well, that's why she's the boss.
Oh, okay, now I get it.
Like I said, she lost a bet.
Oh wait, that's all it takes.
Yeah. You just bet a chick sometimes.
I've been doing it wrong.
Yeah. But anyway, so fate puts my butt right in the middle of LA.
Yeah.
And Mark Kendall, because of Vivian Campbell, I met because, Great White was opening for Whitesnake.
Mm-hmm.
So I met Mark Kendall. I made him a couple of guitars. One of them is like in the intro of, was it Once Bitten, Twice Shy? Yeah. Yeah, it was in the intro of that. It's a one that If It Smells Like Fish is what the guitar is called.
Yeah.
It's the Eat It guitar. So anyway,
okay, cool.
and it's got a chick in there and all that. Mark's wife hated it, so we loved
Once
it.
bitten, twice shy.
It's a chick in a bikini getting eaten by a shark.
That was a good video.
Oh yeah. But you see, the previous tech is like sticking it in the case, and then that was its part of the video.
Yeah.
So anyway, Mark's tech, it wasn't time for him to come back, and I was asked, would you be willing to go out for like 4 to 6 weeks? We're going to be out on the road with Kiss. And I go, well, 21 Guns just fell through. Be kind of cool to get a paycheck. I haven't had one of those since I can remember.
Right.
And plus, I really love Mark, and I really, at that time, that band was so freaking hot. It was just an honor. I was thrilled to do it. Well, as it turns out, it was 6 months before I saw the front door of my house again. I really thought I was going out for 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And anybody that's ever been on tour, you kind of gauge your expectations. Like on certain tours, you're going to be out for 9 months. You know that. So you go in there going, this is going to be a long haul. Just stay calm. Just do your gig. 4 to 6 weeks is like, this is going to be a vacation. All right. This was going to be a vacation.
Vacation's over.
And I would gauge it. I mean, of course, you miss your family. I miss my wife and my son and my home immediately.
Yeah.
But when you go to, and I had a dog that would annoy me, but I was missing my damn dog. I just wanted to go back and rub his head, and
What was your dog's name?
Blackie.
Blackie?
Yeah. And
You like black.
I
Black
like
label, Blackie dog.
I like blue, but I couldn't find any blue dogs. But Blackie was something else. He was a long-haired Shar-Pei.
Oh, wow.
And he was a runner. He would be the guy. I would come home from tour, and he would be the guy that, oh, Dad's home. He breaks out.
Yeah.
So
Was he the only one that seemed excited?
I don't know.
Come
But
on.
I would find myself at 3 a.m. walking around the neighborhood going, Blackie. Then I'd find him. Now in LA, everybody's got a swimming pool, and we're no different.
Right.
And that boy hated the water. So his punishment when Daddy got him home was I would throw him in. I'd make him do a gainer into the frickin' pool, and he'd stay home for 3 or 4 weeks after that. But,
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, that's what it's like being on tour.
Wow. How cool is that, though? So it
I'm
lasted
just
for
glad-
what, 5 years?
5 years. Oh,
Tour?
I toured.
Was it like 5 years?
I toured for 15 years.
Oh, it was 5 years with Great White?
No, it was on and off. Probably, yeah. Over a 5-year period.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember the last album that I was out with. I did Psycho City and oh, I have to call Alan and ask him. Alan was the band's manager. He's got that, or Michael, the keyboard player, other guitar player, Michael Artie. He can tell you what the weather was in 1973
Oh, wow.
in Fairbanks, Alaska.
Wow.
I mean, he's just that guy.
Yeah.
But no, it was over the course of 5 years, 2 or 3 albums, and but in between, when I would be home on break, you know, and I would be like, I'm gonna play. You know, I'm a musician now. I'm not gonna do this stuff. And
Right.
then my phone would ring, and somebody would offer me some money and say, you want to go do this and you want to go do that, and the money kept getting bigger and the acts kept getting bigger, and you know, the next thing I know, 15 years had passed. And I mean, I worked with so many people.
Oh yeah, I know you have. Well, do you play at all anymore?
No.
No.
You know, I just to set up the guitars and whatever. I do get up at Gas Monkey and sing 9 Inch Nails songs. Thomas has seen me do that.
Yeah.
So I had to throw that in there.
Yeah.
I've been known to sing if I've been lubricated enough.
Yeah.
So
Thomas is a great photographer, isn't he?
Yeah,
Yes.
my favorite.
Yeah. He's a good man. Good man.
I think he and I are about the same age.
Really?
I'll drink to that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
All still
Is that peach over there, or am I still pineapple? I don't. I wanted to try the peach, but yeah, don't take the pineapple away.
Yeah. Sloan and Williams, these people are the best, right?
Awesome.
Their cider sure is.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I love it
Sean
here.
and Megan and all these guys are
Fun.
awesome here. It's a nice place.
You called me up and said, you know, why don't we do that in Grapevine at that wonderful place on the corner? And I go, Sloan? And he said, yep. And I go,
Yeah.
oh, man, we're there.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Absolutely.
Until today, I've not always been the biggest wine drinker, and I did not ever sample cider until today. However, I have been here to hear some bands play, and but after today, I may be a cider drinker.
It was the Zach King band that made us come here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, the thing
They're
is
good.
that the cider...
Jessica McVeigh, she sings here. I'm sorry, buddy.
I'm just saying that
Let me interrupt.
I don't know where else we can get this cider.
Oh, this is the best.
Is there a place?
I don't know.
That's the question for today. Can you get Outlaw Cider Company cider anywhere but Sloan and Williams?
Sean, do y'all have any locations elsewhere?
Yeah, down on Texas Street, next walk over, we have actually a tasting room.
Oh, cool.
Friday, Saturday, and Sundays. So I have all 6 of our flavors on tap, plus another 12 other guest ciders and meads from around the world on tap.
So your tasting room, the Sloan and Williams tasting room is where on Texas?
It's called Outlaw Cider Company tasting room. It's on 112 East Texas Street.
112 East Texas Street.
And it's not open today?
No, it's only open Friday, Saturday, and Sundays.
Now, is Grapevine the only city that you guys have locations in?
For tasting room, yes.
Okay.
Now, I do sell our products to a lot of the growler bars around town. So,
Okay.
so we're just in the DFW market right now.
Oh, okay.
We've only been open about a year and a half.
Oh, wow.
It's a very new company.
Well, that's awesome, though.
Well, if you guys haven't been to Sloan and Williams, it's a beautiful establishment, and they have a great selection of wines and ciders. So definitely, it would be the place to come.
Some good food, too.
Really?
I've been known to eat here.
Have you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
good. I've never eaten here. Cool. I'm going to throw out some names, and I want you to tell me your first thoughts about them. Okay? All right. Especially if it's something that you can relate a personal experience to. All right. Ready?
I'll try.
Okay. Aerosmith.
Absolutely the greatest American rock band ever. And I gotta say that going back to Vivian Campbell playing that polka dot guitar, the Texas Jam,
Right.
I could have never known what would happen. But shortly after that, I went to Kramer, and I'm talking about a couple of months after that show, I went to Kramer, and I got this phone call from a guy named Jimmy Crespo to start my morning off. And Jimmy was in Aerosmith on the Rockin' a Hard Place. He replaced Joe Perry in the band. But at that time, he was playing with this gal named Bonnie Bramlett. So he calls me up and he goes, "Hey, my name's Jimmy Crespo. I play with Bonnie Bramlett." I said, "You were that guy in Aerosmith?" He said, "Yeah, I sure was." So anyway, we chatted. We decided about a guitar I was going to do for him. And I'm like, how cool. I just talked to a guy that was in Aerosmith. Well, then, like, I kid you not, an hour later, I get a call from Joe Perry. And I'm like, wow, this is weird. I was just on the phone with Jimmy Crespo. And he goes, "Oh, if you see him, tell him I said hi." And I go, "Well, cool." But Joe had called about some folding guitar thing that I knew absolutely nothing about. But apparently Kramer was trying to launch a folding guitar kind of thing. And really wasn't. Anyway, so then, believe it or not, a half an hour later, I get a call from Brad Whitford. And Brad Whitford goes, "Hi, I'm Brad Whitford. I'm a guitar player in Aerosmith." I'm going, "Man, I just talked to Joe Perry." He goes, "Yeah, he told me you're a really cool guy, and he said I should talk to you." And then Brad Whitford goes, "Dude, did you make that polka dot guitar that Vivian Campbell played at the Texas Jam?" And I said, "I sure did." He said, "That is the most amazing guitar tone I've ever heard in my life."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, "Well, thank you, man." He goes, "Would you make me a guitar like you made Vivian?" And I said, "Yeah, as long as I don't have to do polka dots." So, and I made him this guitar. It was a camel-colored guitar with chrome hardware, but it was exactly like Vivian's in every other detail. And then, as fate would have it, Joe and Brad call up Tom Hamilton and say, "Didn't you want to play them Spectre basses?" And so Tom Hamilton calls me.
Wow.
This all happened on the same freaking day. Tom Hamilton calls me up and he says, "I really would like to get a white Spectre American bass. Is that possible?" And I said, "Yep, I think I could make that happen." And I swear to God, all four of those guys, same day. I mean,
wow.
And Jimmy had no idea, that they were calling me. But I told each guy, Jimmy Crespo called me. Jimmy Crespo called me.
Yeah.
And so anyway, it was like a really stunning thing. And so, of course, we made these guitars. And Chris Hofschneider and he's no longer with us, but he was my main builder in the artist department. I was head of artist relations at Kramer, and I made guitars. Anyway, so he had a lot to do. Joe had sent us this paper outline of what he wanted the body to be, and we made him a couple of guitars. And I know that, like Love in an Elevator, one or two of them showed up in that video. So anyway, I mean, it was really weird. I go from being this kid working out of his garage in Dallas, and the next freaking thing I know, I'm hanging out with Joe Perry and Brad Whitford.
Yeah.
And just to put it to rest, one of the coolest things that happened, I come home from work one day, phone rings, and it's Elwood Francis on the phone, and that was Joe's tech, and he's in the production office with Steven Tyler, and Elwood says, "Hey buddy, Steven wants to talk to you. You want to talk to him for a minute?" And I go, "Does he want a guitar?" And he's like, "He just wants to talk to you." I go, "Okay, yeah, sure." So he puts Steven Tyler on the phone. He goes, "Hey, this is Steven Tyler from Aerosmith." And I go, "I know who you are."
Yeah.
And he goes, "I want to thank you for making my band sound so great." And I just went, I'm sitting there, if there was a video camera in there that could have caught that moment, but my jaw fell to the floor. This is freaking Steven Tyler.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, Aerosmith, it was one of those surreal moments that, that I have to attribute to Vivian's interfering with my life.
Right. I thought you were going to tell me that Steven called and he goes, "Buddy, this is Steven. Hey, do you make harmonicas?"
No. But that was,
wouldn't it have been cool though if he'd asked you?
I would have just said, I know where you can get some.
Yeah.
I'll buy you one.
Yeah, I'll buy you one down at Guitar Center and I'll bring it right over.
They didn't have guitars. Well, yeah, they did. They had one. It was in Hollywood. It was way back
First
in those
one.
days. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna throw another name out.
Okay.
Nikki Sixx.
Nikki Sixx is exactly 1 year older than me. We have the same birthday. And
Wow, the very same day
same-
and month.
And I've been to see Motley on our birthdays a couple
Really?
of times, as fate would have it. But
Wow.
I think the last time was either at Madison Square Garden or Nassau Coliseum that I went as a fan to see him. But I've also done shows where I was out with Steve Vai and they were on the same bill in Japan. We did a couple of shows with Motley Crue in Japan, as fate would have it. So Nikki and I would run into each other. Honestly, a great guy. Yeah, I don't want to go too much into, it's all in his book, but we talked quite a bit when he OD'd and all that kind of stuff. And,
Right.
and you know, I'm just glad he's still with us because that's a real animal to get past.
Yeah.
And, yeah, and I had met Vanity because of him. She was his girlfriend at the time, and she didn't make it, you know, and she passed a couple of years ago. And so
Yeah.
it's, yeah, pretty interesting. But I think that he's always wanted his recognition as an artist, and he deserves it, you know. But he's also, you know, made millions and millions of people happy for many, many years.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Motley's a great band.
Oh yeah, totally.
And yeah, I helped him with basses. You
Yeah.
know, making them and getting them to him and things like that. Because he was a Spectre artist, so
Right.
I basically had to coordinate between Spectre and the graphic artists and things like that. And I would deliver the guitars. And actually, I mean, we also took care of Mick Mars in those days as well.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so-
Awesome. What about Keith Richards?
Keith Richards was probably the biggest surprise meeting him ever. I had taken Dennis Berardi, who was the president of Kramer. Every now and again on a really big show, Dennis would want to go. So I'd say, Dennis, I'm going to go. I'm doing some stuff with The Edge, you know, and U2 and the bass player, and bringing out a bass. And then I got to talk to The Edge about a custom guitar we're making. So anyway, this is a giant stadium, you know, in New Jersey, and we're walking around backstage and run into T.M. Stevens, and he was with the opening act, you know, Little Steven back then, you know, the guy that wasn't going to play Sun City. And so we see Keith. And anyway, T.M. goes, "Hey, buddy, do you know Keith Richards?" I go, "Oh, we haven't met, no." So we go, and he goes, so I go out and meet Keith. You know, Keith's like, so I, hey, you know, he's like Dean Martin. He's got a drink in his hand. You know what I mean? And he's like,
Could you understand what he said?
well, yeah, it got good. And so Dennis is standing there. Dennis is standing there next to me. He goes, you know, somebody gave me one of those Kramer Farrington, you know, the acoustic Telecaster guitars. And I was sitting there, I turned in the tuner, and it goes, boingy! The thing just broke in pieces. And then Dennis is like, he's like, this is the president of Kramer. He's upset. You know what I mean? His eyes are, you know, and he's like, you know, but you know, buddy, you know, so it's like, and I just look at him and I just said, Keith, don't worry. I said, I'm going to grab one at the factory tomorrow and I'm going to set it up for you. All I need to know is how you want it tuned and how fat you want the strings to be. And I said, I'll set it up and we'll get it out to you. And you know what? I couldn't get past this guy because he wasn't at all what I expected. He was a sharp, sharp wit. I mean, he was snap, 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 snap. He was just the one-liners, and he was just a total blast to be around. But yeah, Dennis was pretty pissed. He didn't like hearing that one of the guitars was a POS. You know? So,
No, I guess not. I guess not. What about David Bowie?
I never met David, but ironically, Joyce and I had this big house in LA that we stole, I mean, no, I mean we really did. This doctor was selling this house in this really great neighborhood, and he had had a couple of escrows fall through. So, we offered him a quick close deal, and the guy, I couldn't believe it. He took it, and I call this house the Rockstar Porno Pad because if I ever saw a porno, this is the kind of house they would have shot it in. I've heard. So, anyway, this is a big house on the top of the mountains, beautiful neighborhood. And, as I'm moving in, one of my neighbors comes up to me and he goes, that's David Bowie's keyboard player living next door to you. And I go, really? And he goes, yeah, he's in Smashing Pumpkins now these days. I go, wow, cool. So I was with 9 Inch Nails at that time. So anyway, it turns out this guy had just played a bunch of tracks on the album The Fragile. His name's Mike Garson. And so it turns out that I'm living next door. Now I'm living next door to David Bowie's piano player, who's the guy that David had nicknamed Aladdin Sane. Well, anyway, so, Bowie would show up at 9 Inch Nails shows. Like when we'd be in New York, Bowie would show up, but I'd never see him. You know what I mean? I'm too busy. I mean, I'd see Trent, of course, and I'm too busy doing the stuff we're doing, but Trent and him would, they were friends. And so anyway, I used to work with this gal, Stevie Nicks, and we flew into New York while they were recording the new Bowie album. And of course, Mike's in New York, staying at the Pennsylvania Hotel, and we're staying somewhere down the road. And so I called Mike up and I said, hey, dude, you in town for the next couple of days? Let's go have dinner, and so we went out. And then the next day, it turns out David Bowie, this was one of those, trying to remember what it was, the Robin Hood Foundation or something. And it was one of these gals, Diane Sawyer or somebody like that, it's a charity thing that she does.
Right.
It's a really, really cool thing. So anyway, we're in the big room. We're Stevie Nicks. We have the full band, and we're into this big room. Well, David's in this room where it's like $1,000 or $2,500 a seat, and there are 8 top tables, so every table costs a fortune. And he just gets up and sings 2 or 3 songs to track. So Mike and I are hanging out. We're in New York. I mean, and so Mike says, hey, Bowie's doing his sound check. Let's go, And so I had a couple hours free. So we walk into this room, and Bowie doesn't see us. And he runs through what he's going to do for the show, and he's singing a track. And I'm like going, well, that's David Bowie, and it sounds pretty good. And big deal. So anyway, as it turns out, I have the time free when he's doing this for real, and I'm dressed all in black, so nobody can even see me. I walk into this room, and I watch him do it for real, and I'm telling you, that guy has just absolutely had the magic like nobody you've ever seen.
Wow.
And then, as fate would have it, down the road, we're home. I'm home from tour, and Mike says, hey, we're playing Shrine. Yeah, I think it was the Shrine Auditorium or whatever, where they used to have the Oscars or whatever. And so anyway, we're there. Mike gets me like 5th row right next to the ego ramp. Just stunning. This show, he was so freaking amazing. But it's a funny thing too, in my Kramer days, I had a dealing with David, but it wasn't direct. It was his manager called me up and said, David's donating something for the Rainbow Foundation. So David was, one of those guys, he was always helping charities and things like that.
Right.
Very classy guy. And anyway, so he asked if we would donate a guitar. So they asked me to send it to the manager's office, and David would sign it, and they would auction it. So I sent him one of the very same kind of guitars I had set up for Keith Richards. And so David signs this, they sell it, and I mean, it raised tens of thousands of dollars. Shockingly, it was $100-something guitar. I mean, we're not talking about an expensive guitar, but
Right.
he did sign it.
Wow.
And Yeah, he'd sent me a picture and a thank you letter, and I'm like, he's a super classy and super amazing individual. So
That's awesome. Buddy, during the 15 or so years you were a guitar tech, besides Great White, what other bands did you tech for?
oh my God, that's like, it's easier to say who I didn't, but that's guitars actually. Um, I did some stuff with this band named Ambrosia. Remember them?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Very amazing vocals,
Yeah.
amazing
Oh
songs.
yeah. Oh yeah.
I did a world tour with Bread.
Really?
Baby, I'm a Want You.
Yeah.
And another thing,
How cool is that?
David Gates and I have the same birthday. He's 19 years older than me, you know?
Wow.
And we have the same birthday, just like Nikki.
Yeah.
He's 18 years older than Nikki. Nikki's older than me, always will be.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Wow. What a coincidence.
But yeah, we toured South Africa. We played Sun City. And
Wow.
we did Australia, New Zealand, and casinos across the U.S. and things like that.
Right.
And yeah, and then I did. I did a year with Larry Carlton, fabulous guitar player who's on everything you've ever seen, every TV show, whatever it is, all those Hill Street Blues guitar parts and all that stuff, and
Oh, that's
so
him?
many. Yeah, well, he was the #1 call studio guy. Yeah, Kid Charlemagne, that's him on Kid Charlemagne with Steely Dan. And,
Oh, wow.
absolutely amazing, stunning guitar player. One of the highlights of my career. And I spent a year working with him. I did the Lee and Larry album, which was Lee Ritenour and Larry Carlton, and got to work with a lot of guys like Abe Laboriel Jr. That was his first big session. And he's Paul McCartney's drummer now. And then his dad is a famous bass player, Abe Sr. And just wonderful guy. And and we toured with, the band would be Stanley Clarke on bass and Billy Cobham on drums. We couldn't find any good guys, so we just threw darts and said, "Can we get this guy?" But I mean, the bands would be like that, and he
Wow.
he really kept me on my toes. And then Great White. I mean, not Great White. I went from Great White thinking I'm going to take a break. And I get this call from Fleetwood Mac asking if I would be willing to go to Oslo like in 3 or 4 days. And I'm kind of like, I'd like to go to Oslo, but for a vacation.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
Right.
so anyway, they talked me into it. It took us a few phone calls. We agreed on a price, and I did it. And I just loved it. Great experience. But that was the Becca Bramlett days, Bonnie's daughter, Delaney and Bonnie's daughter. And Billy Burnett was basically, for many years, he had replaced Lindsey Buckingham. So I took care of Billy Burnett in that band. And my breakfast buddy at the hotels was John McVie.
Oh, really?
We would
Yeah.
we would be the ones that rose early, and,
Yeah.
and we would have breakfast every morning.
Yeah.
And I became very fond of him. And then, as fate would have it, I come back, from this tour, and then we did a year out with, not a year, a summer with REO Speedwagon and Pat Benatar. Then
Oh,
I
okay.
became friends with Pat and Neil.
Right.
I've done work with Pat and Neil, but I would be like their production manager, and so I'm the guy that made sure that Pat's bathroom was clean, and that the stage was good, and things like that. And,
Right.
I'm telling you, we would tell people, and they think we're kidding, but I'd say, nobody uses this restroom once I sign off on it, and that included Neil, her husband. I'm not kidding.
Really?
And just like,
She's picky about her bathroom.
she likes things clean.
Really?
And you know what? She's an amazing singer.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And she, it was an experience to get to know Pat and Neil, and some of the great songs, great vocals. But anyway, so then I worked with Steve Vai. I did Fire Garden with him, that was a year, and we went all over the world: Japan, Mexico City, all over Europe, all over the U.S., all over Canada. did the G3 tour. That was my first G3 tour.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get to know Satriani because we're on tour with Satch. And so the next thing I know, I'm getting the call to work with Satch on tour.
Oh, that's cool.
But I wasn't Satch's tech. I was Stu Ham's tech on that, and amazing bass player. But I did several tours with Satriani, and he was it's just amazing to work with guys like that.
Is he still playing with Chickenfoot? Are they
I
still
think
doing
so.
that?
I think so. He likes keeping busy.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything much from them.
Yeah, but
Oh,
I think I think Joe's doing another Satch tour right now or something. I'm not sure. I mean,
Oh, okay.
it becomes a blur after a while. There's so much going on. I also did time with the Goo-Goo Dolls.
Oh,
and-
yeah, they got some good stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and let's see, I did years and really amazing time with 9 Inch Nails. Working with Trent Reznor, and I would work directly with Trent.
Oh, okay, you were his
And
tech.
I did all of his guitar stuff, which meant rebuilding guitars on a daily basis because they would go flying, and sometimes we could save them, sometimes we couldn't.
Yeah.
I would literally order 30 and 40 Les Pauls at a time from Gibson and have them meet us at
Wow.
places on tour.
Really?
Yeah, and we paid for them. A lot of people thought we got that stuff for free.
What?
They don't usually
what
like giving free guitars to people who are just going to smash
to
them.
destroy them? What'd you pay for them? Do you know?
I'm not supposed to say.
Oh, okay.
I actually have an NDA. I have
Okay.
2 NDAs, and one's with Trent Reznor, so I'll only say good things. And I have to be honest. If you want to sue me for saying something good about Trent, well, sue me. But I love Trent Reznor, and I got to be honest. Honestly, I did everything I could when they called me and asked me to work with him to talk him out of it, and I wouldn't trade that time with Trent for anything.
Really?
It was
Yeah.
absolutely a stunning, amazing part of my life, and I
Yeah.
wouldn't trade it. And the other guy I had an NDA with was Lionel.
Really?
Yeah. I worked with Lionel Richie, but I'm not allowed to talk about that.
Really? At all, huh?
No, Lionel was great, though. You know what he always called me?
Uh-uh.
He'd come up to me, put his hand on my shoulder. His hand on my shoulder. Hey, baby.
Hey, baby.
I think I saw him do that to 6 or 7 other people, too.
They're all baby.
We're all baby, man,
You know, I need to get people to sign NDAs about me so they only say good stuff. I'm going to carry some in my pocket. Oh, hey, sign this NDA.
But honestly, I think in all these years, that was the only 2 acts that ever asked for an NDA.
Really? Yeah.
But I know I'm leaving people out. I mean, I got to work with Susanna Hoffs in the studio, which was amazing.
Yeah.
She was wonderful.
Yeah.
Bangles. And,
Yeah.
was the Bangles, wasn't it?
Yeah.
She walked like an Egyptian or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. But she was wonderful.
Oh, we got to talk about. Well, guys, there you have it. Part 1 of my chat with Buddy Blaze. I really hope you guys had a good time as you learned more about this legend and our friend, and he will definitely be missed. But bear in mind, next week Buddy will be back for part 2. So tune us in at noon Central next Monday for another episode of Barside Jive. Peace out. You want to sing to him again?
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Hey, and one more thing. Please remember to drink responsibly and don't drink and drive. Follow our lead. Right, AJ?
Absolutely.
All right, guys. We will see you next week. Thanks for watching.